Hello, welcome back. I am some guy, and today we will be talking about the newest release movie that is now on digital, which I highly recommend you watch, the new Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, originally, I was going to talk about the movie as a whole and go into spoilers, but after rewatching the movie on digital and watching the extended preview, which I'll leave a link below so you can watch it yourself, I sort of realized how perfect it is. Not only is it perfect in its animation, but it's also perfect in the way that it sort of introduces the themes before they're officially introduced. So first, before I get into the animation aspect, which I really fucking love, first, let's actually talk about the themes of the movie before we move on to the juicy stuff. One of the main themes of this film is the theme of mortality and the theme of self-image. Now, these themes are introduced in the first 10 minutes, but if I'm being generous, the first 7 minutes, it is introduced in the film. First, I'm going to touch on the theme of mortality before I get to the self-image part. The way this film starts is with a musical number, with Puss singing about how arrogant and great he is and how humble he is to the people. But if you were to listen to the lyrics of the song, he does mention a few things which sort of touch on his mortality, or immortality per se. With lyrics such as, I'm reading this off my script by the way, who's never been touched by a blade, Puss in Boots is never afraid, and who's the gato, even though it shouldn't, who's el gato, but whatever, who rolls the dice and gambles with his life. If we're talking about where this film lands in the Shrek universe, I'd say it lands a little bit after Shrek 4. At this point, he's more experienced, he knows what he's doing, he knows what his morals are. Now this next part sort of touches on the animation, but there is a part where he is dabbling with his own life, but also with someone else's, even though he's just stabbing someone in the hand. No biggie. He is actively putting himself at risk throughout the intro. Even with the big fight with the big ass monster, he's still putting himself at risk, but he's doing it for the people, those who are in need. And also just one tidbit of spoiler, not really, I won't say what happens, but there is a bit of foreshadowing within the intro where he is dancing with a chicken and he's surrounded by flames. That's kind of a foreshadowing to the final act, but I'm not going to say what happens because I want you to watch the movie. It's so fucking good. Trust me, dude. It's worth it. It's worth your money. Trust me. Now, throughout the Shrek universe, or at least in the first Puss in Boots movie and in this one, he's sort of seen as a Robin Hood figure. Now, how do we know this based on the intro? I'm glad you asked. One of Puss's lines from the beginning of the film, he says, "Accept this golden gift from Puss in Boots," and he drops the people some chests of gold. Now, once the king, or whatever he may be, I'll just call him a king, walks in, he says, "Arrest these filthy peasants," sort of insinuating that these are not common folk, so to speak. Also, one of the lyrics in the song, it kind of points out he fights for the people being those who are in need. They also mention he fights against evil. So before this, or at least after this, he fights against a big monster, sort of showing what kind of evil he goes against. Not only doesn't go against a fucking rock monster, he also goes up against the villain of the people. In this case, the king, who is very rich and probably very not a good person. And once the giant is introduced and he starts, taking people away, a little boy gets captured and he's like, "Oh, I'll save you." But once the king gets captured and he asks Puss for help, he only tells the king only if it's convenient. Keep in mind, I'm not great at explaining things, so if none of that made sense, I'm sorry. But let's get to the best part of this entire introduction, the animation. I was looking forward to watching this film the moment the first trailer dropped because I fucking love Puss in Boots. Apparently, not everyone liked him. Sure, I may have some bias because he is a Spanish-speaking cat, and I am of Spanish-speaking heritage, so I might have a little bit of bias in terms of liking Puss in Boots. But I've always liked his character, always looking out for those who are in need. I've always liked that whenever a character shows that they have human decency. So when this film was announced and it was covered with a fresh coat of paint, I was in love immediately. And keep in mind, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out a while ago, and everyone, and I mean everyone, loved the film for its new take on animation. Animating in twos, that's fucking amazing. So when this film in the trailer showed that it was animating in twos, it was mind-boggling. I'm gonna look like a fucking loser, but I don't care. This is amazing. Now, the beginning of the film, it's all animated smoothly, but as soon as the monster is introduced, that's when he's first animated in twos, and then later Puss is animated in twos, and once they're both in sync, it looks amazing. I am glad that the animation industry has taken note of the impact that the Spider-Verse had on animation, because everyone loved how it looked, and they took notice. They're like, "Oh, they like that, huh? Let's make that our film." So it's fucking amazing. Apart from the animation, the music works with the animation and vice versa. They're both working together to make the perfect intro. The animation is in sync with the music, and it is amazing. I saw this film in theaters. This movie made me want to scream without the S, dude. You have no fucking idea. First, it starts with simple things such as, you know, characters tapping their feet to the beat, and also Puss kicking some milk to the people. It becomes its own thing. There's a scene where Puss is spinning around and people are trying to stab at him, also showing how he is playing with his mortality, but he doesn't really care because he's Puss in Boots, the fucking legend. But when they're stabbing him, it makes a whole beat of its own with the music, and it's still in sync, and oh my god.
Buzz with his life, who's ever been touched by a blade, Puss in Boots is never afraid.
And when the guards come in to fight Puss after the king tells them to do so, at first the clashing of the swords are in sync with the music, with the instrumentals. But then when the chorus hits, who is your favorite feel? When that part comes on, they just, the clashes of the sword start syncing up with the fucking words. That's amazing. This might be some basic, oh, here's how to make a movie thing. When it's done right, you will leave the audience in awe. Me, I'm the audience. I was baffled. And so the way they introduce animating in twos is interesting, because although it isn't used as much as I was hoping, it is used when things are about to get real. In this case, when Puss is fighting with the monster, they are animated in twos. So if you have brain, you will probably pick up the fact that, if there were to be a fight going on and it is going to be big and bombastic, then they will probably be animating in twos to show that shit's about to get real, and it will be stylized in that fact, so it will look pretty fucking good. And that's exactly what they did for the entire film. Now there's this concept, or at least idea, of the money shot, where a single frame from a film, or animated film in this case, is shown and it will sell. You won't even have to use words. People will be intrigued by how good it looks. It can be a single shot and people will probably be like, oh, where's that from? I want to watch it. The introduction gets the money shot right away. And what I love about this film is that you don't have to watch the first one to understand what's going on in the second one. It isn't a direct continuation of the first film. If I remember correctly, the first movie ends with Puss leaving his family behind to pursue greater adventures. But either way, you don't have to watch the first one to understand what's happening in the second one, because with this, Puss is just introduced so well. Now, if you put these two together with the theme, the music, and the animation, you have Puss in Boots. You don't have to watch, in fact, you don't have to watch any of the other Shrek movies to know who Puss is. You just have to know he's everyone's favorite fearless hero, as the song insinuates. He sees himself as that hero. He's kind of caught up with it. That's sort of like one of the main points of the film, that he's got so caught up with himself, the legend, that he forgot how to live truly. Puss puts himself on a pedestal, and rightfully so, because everyone around him loves him for what he's done for the people. So to recap, you don't have to watch any of the other Shrek films or the Puss in Boots films to know Puss as a character, because the introduction to this film does it for you. Now, this isn't like any other sequel. You have to watch the first one to understand what's going on in the second one, whereas instead, you can go from one movie to the other, or just ignore the rest and jump to this film, and you'll be okay, because it shows Puss is a hero to the people and is an enemy to those who are in power, and even those who are just out to be evil. He sees himself as a hero, and he's also a bit cocky about it, and he's seen as a living legend, and he doesn't want to let that go. That's one of the main themes of the film as well. What the animation shows kind of pushes these points further. Overall, even if you're not into like analyzing films, you have to admit, this fucking intro smacks, dude. You can't tell me you sat in the theater or sat in your room like, oh man, this is boring. You cannot do that. Anyway, this is a bit of a shorter video because I really wanted to talk about this film so badly. So hopefully I got these points across, and hopefully you enjoyed me just freaking out about this film, because I had fun rewatching the film and the intro multiple times to get this little script done. But I also had fun, just talking about it, because this film is amazing, dude. So I hope you enjoyed. For my next video, I will be talking about Attaway General. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, I'll keep you updated. But that will take some time, so be on the lookout for that. And as always, hope you'll have a nice day. So I hope you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and feel free to like. It supports me, a small growing child. If you're interested in watching more of me, Here's a video from one of my live streams. I recommend you watch it. I found it pretty funny. Here's my last uploaded video on this channel. I recommend you watch it if you haven't already. I had a fun time making it as much as I had fun filming it. And here on my face is my live channel as well. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and take care.